What's up, everybody? How is everybody doing today? I'm Bill Foster, and we got a show for you tonight. I got some correction officers, there's coming retired correction officers that are coming in, and they're gonna drop some knowledge on us. But before I do that, I always have to give the public service announcements. Somebody mute your mic. I hear feedback. Until I finish. Rich, that mic, is that you? Somebody, I'll mute you guys. So right now, like I said, we're gonna have a show tonight. We're gonna kick it. It's gonna be real talk. But like I said, I always got to get in my public service announcements, like I always do. If you're watching from YouTube, subscribe and like. If you're watching by Facebook, if you're my Facebook friend, share. Go under my page and share.
Yes, I am.
Oh, Lisa, hold on. I'm gonna mute you, Lisa. Mute yourself until you come on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Thank you. So, with that being said, if you're my Facebook friend, like Lania Shep is, all they have to do is go to my Facebook page and put the share button, and it's like a watch party. If you're on YouTube, subscribe to it. Now, we got some public service announcements. Real Talk Chronicles is sponsored by the Daily Arts Magazine. Right? It's sponsored by Soft Illusions Art Gallery. It's sponsored by Melba Wilson, Harlem Soul Food Restaurant, and it's also sponsored by Chocolat, Leon Ellis, and Harlem Underground Sportswear. With that being said, and saying all that, tonight I'm so excited. We got a phenomenal show. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in, that's watching. Please like it and share it. I'm going to introduce my co-host first, and then we'll introduce our panel that's going to be discussing. So first and foremost, Rich, how are you doing tonight, brother?
Like I always say, I woke up with the 2 C's, the choice and the chance. I'm good.
Good. Kev, how are you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing well. Good evening, everybody. One last, I hope, winter storm, and we're done. Yeah, I thought we had spring back, and it kind of snuck away from us.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, it didn't do that. And, one day it's probably damn near pneumonia weather besides any other thing. Please, everybody out there, first and foremost, before we go on any further, I got to give my condolences out to people. My neighbor across the street, I'm getting feedback from somebody. My neighbor from across the street, if you heard about the car crash on the West Side Highway, went off the bridge. That was my neighbor. Yeah. So they just had the service yesterday. It wasn't much. It was just a memorial because the body went up in flames. A good friend of mine, his sister, shout out to Bianca Fleming, she just passed away. My man Brent. There's so much stuff going on. So condolences, happy birthdays. I know it's like a topsy-turvy, it's a mixed thing. But without further ado, I want to get into my guests tonight. We have retired correction officers. Somebody put the TV down. We have retired correction officers, and they're going to come in and they're going to talk. Without that, I'm going to introduce, I'm going to start with. Okay.
Hey, Bill, somebody's TV's on.
Yeah, somebody's TV up. Let me see. Oh, okay. So now, first, I'm going to introduce Lisa. I'm going to let her tell how long she was with the Department of Corrections.
Lisa, baby, how you doing?
and then Lisa, I'll go to Lania, and I'll go to Shep. But I want them to introduce themselves and how long they were with the Department of Corrections and what unit they worked in. Lisa, it's a pleasure to meet you because this is the first time I'm getting to meet you. So, I hope many more times. But thank you for coming to Real Talk Chronicles, the podcast that keeps it real all day.
Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure to be here this evening. I was a correction officer for 20 years.
Okay.
I retired 17 years ago.
Right.
Once I retired, I went into teaching. I've taught for over 15 years.
Right.
My most recent position was as a director of a bail project. So I don't know what else to say. Well, I can talk all day about myself. But,
come on, Lisa. You got more to say, Lisa.
Everybody knows I love to talk. So
Well, that's a beautiful thing, and we want to hear everything you got to say tonight. Without that, I got to bring in my dog, my roadie, my man, Lania Rogers. Man, what's up, brother?
Hello, everyone. My name is Lania Rogers. I was a correction officer for 24 years. I've been retired for 8 years, and I must say, you have one of my best guy who took me under his wing, David Shepard.
Oh Lord, have mercy.
And
where's the envelope, baby? Where's the envelope?
man, he deserved the envelope, you know.
Oh boy.
Because of him, I got into executive driving, and it's been love ever since, you know.
Oh man.
Yes, yes.
Hey, Lanier, the envelope's in the mail, man.
And last but not least, I got my brother, my martial arts brother, promoting brother, just a good brother. We kick it sometime and we laugh, we curse, we talk about people, but we'll say it in their face, like we say all the time, right, Shep? We'll say it in their face.
Yes, sir.
And my man, my brother Dave Shepard, everybody.
Thank you. I tell you, those two, it's uncanny, and I think it's supposed to be that way. Lisa and I are, oh shoot.
There you go. No,
Oh man.
well,
We can hear you.
You got 2G. Tab, Rich, you got 2G. Here we go.
Here I am. I'm back, y'all.
Okay, cool.
Lisa and I have been very cool for many, many years. She has supported me in my venues upstate in Rockland County. We go way back. I haven't seen her in a while. I haven't talked to her in a while, but she knows she's my road dog. Lanier, my man, can play some ball, but I don't want to go into that. I spent 20 years on the job. Within that 20 years, I had a very, very good time and wonderful time. Met a lot of good people and joined certain groups. I was in emergency response unit for 5 years. We had a good crew of people. If nobody knows what that is when you have riots or disturbances throughout the jails, whether it be a borough facility or Rikers Island, we would respond and sort of quiet the situation. That's when we had the most respect in corrections, is during that time of 85 to 95, close to that time, but it changed the last 20 years. I've been retired for 17 years.
Yeah, and we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into all that. I just wanted everybody to know where you work, because we want to talk about the lack of respect that's happening with both jobs. I mean, the thing is, that people, I hear a lot of clicking and clacking.
Yeah,
That's my man in the lower left-hand corner, right-hand corner.
That's not Kev. That's Lanier.
No, the guy next to him.
This is on mute.
Everybody on mute. Let me find out. I'm gonna find out right now. Hold on. Well, that's you clicking and clacking, Dave. Not with that nonsense. All right. So this is what I'm gonna ask everybody to do.
How am I doing that? I was on mute.
No, I just muted you. But what we're gonna do? If you're not talking,
I'm not touching anything.
If you're not talking, mute yourself, so that way we're getting feedback from everybody. So we know what's happening, everybody. Rich is a community person. Kevin and I were partners in the 2A together. We see, so we, NYPD, we got correction. First, I tip my hat to all of you. I was supposed to be a correction officer, but NYPD called first. I was going to be with my man, rest in peace, Lenny Holmes. I'm a martial artist. He was going to bring me on, and we was going to rock out together. Shout out to all the correction officers that's doing their thing, on and off retired. It's giving back. I thank you all again. But what has happened, and I'm going to go around and ask you, what do you think has happened in your job that has caused the lack of respect that has happened with NYPD? You say it. from your mouth to God's ears. I'm gonna let you talk, and I'll start with you, Lisa, and then I'll go to Dave, and then I'll come to Lania. Go ahead. You muted yourself.
Okay, I'm here now. So your question is, what do I believe happened with regard to the lack of respect
that correction officers are receiving from the inmates? You know, we're not even going to touch. We're going to get on Rikers in its entirety and what you feel about what's happening with Rikers. Should it move, not move? But I just want to find out, how did the lack of respect for the inmates towards the officers come to this rise right now? Because you see it all the time. People are fighting, jumping guards, and I know some old correction officers, some real old, like, you guys were not, you all, ladies and men, were not having that. And now it seems like you're seeing correction officers getting jumped, cut, and that old do something and then go turn around and put your hand up on the wall. We got to nip that in the bud. So I just want you to start off. Just tell me what you feel. We can talk about the politics of this, and we can go like reform and bail, stuff like that. But I just want to get what you feel. Then I'll go to Shep, and then I'll go to Lania, and then Chuck and Kevin. If you got some comments, you can just raise your hand and chime in. So go ahead, Lisa, please.
Okay, so I do believe that as a result of the de Blasio administration, he submitted to a lot of organizations, criminal reform organizations, that felt like there was a lot of abuse going on Rikers. And as a result of that, the officers were persistently given new rules for which to follow, and a lot more liberties for the inmate population, which diminished the level of respect that the inmates had or have for the officers. It made the officers be placed in a situation where it was a hands-off thing about anything. It even became a situation where they couldn't call them certain things. You couldn't say inmate, I believe. There was a language change, there was an engagement change, and as a result of that, the inmates literally took over the system, which resulted in that lack of respect.
Okay. All right.
Because one other thing.
No, please continue. Please continue.
There was, I know at one time I spoke at one of the organizations that were centered around reparations for people who were incarcerated. And one thing that always stays in my mind is the fact that when you look at both sides, the inmates are predominantly people of color. Correctional staff, we're predominantly people of color. I find the problem to be really big. We walk around both with something on our chest as identifiers. We follow rules, in a contained environment for which we have no say. So when you look at it from a higher level, I see it as a modern day slavery camp to some extent, because one of us don't have more power over the other, essentially. We've been placed in an environment where it's every man for themselves, so to speak, or, the blue against the green, that sort of thing, So I'll end there for now.
Okay. Shep. Lisa, mute yourself. Everybody mute yourself.
Well, first of all, I want to co-sign everything that Lisa just said. They have sort of tied our hands behind our backs with not so much putting paws or putting hands on these inmates, but even telling them things that they have to do or what they shouldn't do. We'll tell them one thing and the captain will come around and say something else. And then that feels that they have the captain in their pocket for whatever reason. But the main thing that I really don't like is the fact that when an inmate assaults us, they used to get Bing time. Now, Bing time is when they go to a court set up by the captain, and the captain decides how much time they will get in a punitive segregation cell. It may be a week, and what that is 23 hours, no TV, no commissary, and they get 1 hour rec. And they don't like that. They have to have some form of punishment. If they feel that they can get away with whatever they do, they're going to continue to do it and feel emboldened to step it up another notch. That's what's happened now with this bail reform. They do what they do. They come out and they still. That's going into another thing, but that bail reform needs to be changed. But people say Rikers Island is right. Rikers Island is cement, steel, and water around it. That does not dictate any directives or any rules or regs. The problem is we can't tell them exactly what we need them to do, and if they get upset, it's our fault. I don't know what happened along the line, and I think Lisa probably touched on that with de Blasio and all of these self-righteous groups. We're doing this to the inmates, we're doing that. And there may be some officers, very few, that may abuse an inmate, but then they take it as though everybody's doing that same thing. It's just if a cop makes a mistake, all the cops are the same. So I'm not sure what's going to happen now because my favorite dude who was going to be responsible for helping Eric Adams passed away. He was chief of department. His name is Larry Davis.
Yes. All right. I'll go to Lania, and I thank you. I appreciate all the things that everybody is saying, but I want to hear definitely with Lania, and then I'll ask Kevin and Rich if they want to say something. Go ahead, Lania.
I would like to say that, I agree with both of them. And first of all, I would like to say for the officers that are listening now, you're doing a great job, and don't hold your head down. Keep your head up high, because nobody, comes, grow up saying, I want to be a correction officer. It's a rough job within itself. And you have to give respect to get respect, but then, know your rules and regulations, know what you can do and can't do. But I feel that the communication broke down but within the correction department, because when you break it down, officers are the one that do the job. Supervisors, they supervise, but some forget where they came from. But officers have to know that they have the power, and they have to stick together. And there was no black and white issues as far as I know, but we all work together because we went to work thinking that we was coming home. And every time I read something in the paper about something happening on Rikers Island, I hold my breath and I pray, because I feel one day a correction officer is going to get killed on Rikers Island. And I would say, to the officers today, stick together and make change. You're in the fight and you can control the fight. Stay together.
Wow. Awesome. Thank you, Lania. Rich, Kev, do you have anything to say, or I'll ask another question? No? Yes?
I was letting Rich speak first.
Okay. Go ahead.
To kind of go on to what Lania was saying, to the corrections officer out there, thank you. You took a noble job. You're here to help us protect our city. Thank you. And you don't hear it enough. And for people who aren't a corrections officer, if you haven't walked in those shoes and worked in one of those places, I'll politely say zip it.
Yeah.
But I'd like to see it just go and thank one. It means something. When you work in this field, corrections, police, and you see the media part of this, where we're taking a beating and we look like bad guys in a lot of people's eyes, just having your neighbor saying thank you, having somebody at Starbucks, because they see you're in your uniform, say thank you. It means something, So take that second out and thank them.
Yeah, thank you. And we'll, maybe if we have enough time, we'll even talk about why sometimes PD dislike correction officers. I never understood that. I always felt like, listen, if I didn't want to be in the cells, which I did apply, and I would have done it if they would have called first. But the thing is, it has to be a better camaraderie than just taking them down to central booking them and passing them along and then letting you deal with them. Rich, you have anything to say? Are you good? Go ahead. All right. I just want to read some comments and questions. First and foremost, shout out to everybody that's chiming in. It's Real Talk Chronicles. We appreciate you all. Lania, Sed's in the building, being funny. Lisa, I'm a survivor. She said the barrio took away consequences and tried a therapeutic approach and it failed. Absolutely. Taylor said the lack of respect for authority all started about 30 years ago when society took the power of disciplining children out of the parents' hands. I totally agree with that. Then she still continues to state, she said this was initiated when they started telling kids that if your parents hit you, it's child abuse. This is why you are in this predicament with youthful crime. I agree with you on that. And I'll ask you all, what do you feel about that? James Baker said, I work both jobs, and the problem is no repercussions for peeps in the streets with bail reform and the removal of punitive segregation. So in the streets and in the jails, there's no check to their bad behavior. Dave and I worked together back in the day, and we had control. Absolutely. Stefani said, do you guys remember a few years ago when they arrested a group of female COs at Rikers because they were having sexual relationship with inmates, and some even got pregnant? The line has definitely been screwed. James Baker also says, when Giuliani took the helm, it became a hookup instead of promoting the best and the most knowledgeable. He ran the city like a mafia of freedom. Taylor also states, she said the standards for bail reform need to be revised. When you have repeat offenders, they need to be remanded, and they should bring back solitary confinement for problematic inmates. Bail reform was designed to eliminate another Khalif Broward situation, not to be a revolving door of a bunch of incorrectable lowlifes. Wow. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles, keeping it real, 100, all day, every day. Lania, on the fact of anything that I read, I'll go back and read about bail reform, and I'll give you this one thing. Go back to what Taylor said. She said the standard for bail reform needs to be revised. When you have repeat offenders that need to be reprimanded, and they should bring back solitary confinement for problematic inmates. Bail reform was designed to eliminate another Khalif Broward situation, not to be revolving doors for a bunch of incorrectable lowlifes. What do you say to that?
I agree with that person because it's there's no consequences, like they said. I think at one time they was giving them Yankee tickets to come back to court. That's crazy. That's ludicrous. But I do want to say with the bail reform that some of these mental people are not getting the proper help.
Okay.
So you're seeing a lot of mental people with problems. They're doing a crime, and somebody's not assessing them correctly, right, and they back in the street.
Okay, thank you. Shep,
can I say something?
Oh, Rich, you want to say something?
Yeah,
I want to say something.
Hold on. Go ahead, Rich.
All right. First I want to say thank you for your service, correction and NYPD, right? Second, I want to say rest in peace to Corey McCullough, who was my next door neighbor, who I went to his funeral yesterday, and he died in prison. He was a difficult person. And, he was beaten by correction officers where he was crippled, right? He was in upstate prison when he died. But I went to his funeral yesterday, and I just wanted to say rest in peace to him and respect to his family. Now, I have myself relatives that are in Rikers Island. Well, one relative right now that works in Rikers Island. my first cousin. His mother also retired from Rikers Island as a captain. I have other friends that worked there. I have another friend that worked there who had gotten in some trouble up there and got arrested and did time himself for his dealings while being a correction officer. You know, he was peddling paraphernalia. He wrote a book about it after he got out of jail and everything. But in conversations with him, he was saying a lot of the things that go on sometimes with correction officers in prison, right? Now, the sister, Miss Whiteside, she touched on something where she said, and I kind of felt what she was saying, how the authority of the corrections officer and the inmates, it's like you're all slaves in the system, you know, because everybody, for the most part, is people of color, whether they're in there or working in there. And the system is broken. And when I say the system, I'm talking about the correctional facilities, the mental health aspect of all of this. And then the NYPD, these systems are broken. A lot of stuff that's going on, in my humble opinion, is all of these things are needed. You know, correctional facilities are needed. NYPD is needed. Mental health organizations are needed, but they're not operating in a fashion which led to these floodgates opening now, where it's just like out of order. Everything is out of order. You know, and we spoke about this many times on the show as it pertains to the NYPD. And my opinion is that there is a place for all of these services, but you have to apply it in a non-personal way. You got inmates that come to prison, right? And some of them, a lot of them are innocent, and they felt like they got a bum deal by getting in there. And if they don't conform to a lifestyle in which they feel like they don't even belong there, you know, in some cases, they're going to rebel against that. Case in point to like what the sister said, like a slave would that was just captured. How do you convince someone to be something he thinks that he shouldn't even be, you know, and comply to rules and regulations where he thinks he shouldn't even be there? And I'm not saying that's all of it. I'm talking about the few that are there that fall into that category. But as a corrections officer, you are tasked to do a job and you got rules and regulations that you got to follow. But sometimes those rules and regulations that you follow, like the brother Lania Rogers said, that the officers are in charge when you on duty. So how do you then deal with inmates on a non-personal level and follow those rules that you want them to follow? And then they see that there's this disparity in how you really treating them. You know, I've never been incarcerated. And like the sister, I worked for the Department of Education that I retired from after 35 years. And I worked in alternative ed where they wanted to assign me in a juvenile facility doing GED prep up in the Bronx somewhere. And I went in there one day and I couldn't stay in there. You know, I couldn't watch brothers walk around with their legs shackled. And then I was even restricted to go from a classroom to the bathroom. You know, somebody had to open up a gate, you know, and I felt like I was incarcerated. So I can only imagine how a correction officer would feel that's inside that gate, doesn't have a weapon, I mean, a gun or anything, and you feel incarcerated, you know? So for me, it's kind of like rough trying to assess all of this stuff that's being said, because, you know, I never worked in law enforcement, but I've always worked with the kids that wound up in facilities, whether it's the precinct, lockup, or whether it's Rikers Island, you know. And where I sit, I feel like my job is to stop that from happening, to stop them from falling into that situation. But shit happens.
Well, let me just say this. I'm going to let Dave, Lisa, and Lanier reply to you. But the one thing is, you said it so well, and then I will go back to the initial question. You said it so well, not to be, you haven't walked the shoes. You know enough of officers to hear the stories. But the bottom line is, like Kevin said too, if once you walk that shoe, it's like a person trying to tell another person how to play ball. If you ain't never played ball, you ain't gonna know how to tell me to go to the elbow or play hockey or any other sport. I say all that to say, dealing with the PD, getting apprehension, arresting somebody who has committed the crime, because we could talk about did they commit it or not committed. And then when we're talking about when they're in the prison system, they still got to follow those rules and regulations. That is just the way it's going to be, and that's how it has to be. Now, talking about them getting there and treating them a certain way when they're there, the bottom line is you're incarcerated. You lost your freedom. I'm not saying get whips and chains, but the bottom line is that these correction officers here can tell me if I'm right or wrong. It seems like they have more rights in the correctional facility than the average John and Jane Q. public. So they got. Go ahead, Dave, and I'll let you comment, and then I'll come to you, Lisa and Lania. Go ahead.
Well, I very much respect what Rich said, but if you really want to get down to the fact of the matter of what's happening, you start at the home with, parents that are kids now, right, and they're living with their 15 or 16-year-old mother who has, and it's not everybody, who has a lot of them, there's different people coming in and out of their lives. And that child may have some form of mental illness. All of us have some form. There are different levels. Now you take the child that's in a home with drugs and alcohol, and they have a level of mental illness that's not registered or not detected, and that kid grows up and starts to do drugs and alcohol, you have a very dangerous person once they get in the street and start learning all the things that they're not supposed to be learning. They take that same mentality to jail. Now, you in jail, you got to follow orders. And you're not used to that because your daddy or your mother left you home alone and you ain't had nobody to tell you what to do. So now the officer has anywhere from 40, 50 to 60 people with 2 officers or 1 officer to deal with different personalities, different levels of mental illness that are not addressed. And the reason why they are not addressed, because they're in and out of court, being let go or transferred. So you can't really concentrate on that person that needs that help. So that's another aspect of this thing that a lot of people don't talk about. When you have people with a problem and they're not getting any treatment, what do? And as a inmate, they start to act out. And they don't understand authority because they never had authority. And then we as correction officers, we didn't have that kind of training to deal with mental illness. They give us a 2-hour course and we're supposed to remember all that crap. Hell no. We're going to go back to what we know, survival. Whether we have to duke it out, fight it out, whatever. Now, it's a very bad situation altogether dealing with just kids in school that are not locked up. And then you got to deal with a criminal who doesn't know any kind of discipline, has a mental problem, and he's coming down from his drugs or alcohol. Now you got to deal with that. It's a revolving circle that I don't think there's any real remedy for it, to tell you the truth. I really don't think there is one.
Right.
That's my opinion.
No, awesome.
And I'm sticking to it.
I agree with you with a lot of what you just said, brother. And like Bill and Kevin always talk about is training, right? And I think the training isn't being given for the different things that are coming your way. It's not as simple as it used to be. You know, you got a lot of kids coming out of high school that have been assessed with a IEP, you know, maybe on some medication, coming from those substance abuse backgrounds, whether their parents or them, you know, and all of these things play a factor, you know. But these are the things I think that need to start being addressed, is the training. Like in other countries, you know, to be a police officer, you don't have months of training. You got years of training before you become that, you know. So you got to equip the people that are doing the jobs that you do with everything that you need. So if you got a inmate that has these issues, there has to be something or some people that are there just for that. Just like NYPD now are running up on all of these different situations, like the guy that smeared feces in the woman's face that got locked up and now he's back out. He's been in and out, you know. It's not one thing. It's a lot of things that's going on that needs to be fixed. And it's affecting all of us, not just the people that are committing these crimes and the inmates. It's the people that are tasked to service this by trying to prevent it and stop it. You can't send me into a burning building with a pistol and say, Rich, stop the fire. Wait a minute.
Right.
I'm not equipped for this shit, you know?
Rich,
so
Rich, hold on.
I
want to bring Lisa and Lania in on this. Go ahead, Lisa. Your comments on that? You're muted, sis.
He's muted.
Hold on. Go ahead, Lisa. I got you.
Okay.
Unmute you.
Yeah,
Okay,
so I stand 100% behind what Richard has stated, what he stated so far. I think that the entire culture needs to be revamped. Okay. When I came on the job, it was in the 80s. Things are much different. Society is much different. The way in which we engage with ourselves is much different. You can't hold on to an old traditional system when the world outside is significantly different. You know, I heard comments made, I guess, from people who are writing into you about some derogatory language that's applied to people who enter into the system. That's not a good thing either. When you start using that kind of language to describe people, how can you work with them in a pro-social way? You know, there's a documentary that I used to show all the time, and I can't remember the name, but the gist of it at the end, the moderator, he said that it's easy to kill a N-word. It's hard to kill John. So if I'm calling you John or Mary or Sue or Bobby, it's kind of hard to kill you, right? Because I know you by name. But if I know you by a number or by a derogatory, like a skid and all of this stuff, it's easy to do damage, you know? The culture has to change. And yeah, there'll be some people who will listen to me and who would be overly critical. But as a person of color, working with other people of color, if I want to be a true change agent, then I'm looking to take us both to a different level, to a higher level. You know, not everybody who commits a crime should be in jail. Now, I know there's that argument made, well, they need to be punished. Some people don't need punishment. Some people need access to services. Like Dave indicated, mental health services. There are people who may get into a domestic incident, right? When I worked with the bail program, most of the clients that we had were there for simple assault cases. Okay, sometimes it was people making up stories. I'm not going to go into detail about that, but at the end of the day, when there is a domestic incident that sometimes doesn't result in physical force, does a person need to go to jail for that? There needs to be more programming out here. Yes, they have supervised release, but when you have a limited amount of staff to work with people who need services, and you have a limited amount of services within the city, I don't know how we're going to affect any significant change. But I do not believe that I do believe rather that the system needs to change, the culture needs to change, because we can't continue like this in modern society. You know, we live in a civilized world. We don't live in a third world country, nor should we run our jails in that way.
I appreciate that, Lisa. Thank you. Lania, I'll bring you in, and then we can, Kevin, if you have something, I know, just raise your hand. And I want to read some more of the comments, and then initially go back to that question that I asked.
Oh, wait a minute. Can I add something?
You sure
Can I
may.
add one more thing? You know, when we were on the job, there was always this phrase like, you want to go home the same way you came in, you know?
Right.
And to extend on that now, yeah, I want to live my life the way I was raised to live my life, you know, because it's not just about one day coming to work and going home the way that you came in. It's about years. It's about an investment of time. It's about how being in these depraved settings, you know, how it impacts not only the people that work there, it impacts the people who, you know, are forced to be in there, you know, through the criminal justice system. I know how I've changed, how I impacted my family as a result of how my experience working.
So it's also a psychological thing that can happen to you. I mean,
absolutely.
Anybody in law enforcement, from correction, PD, even I'm sure FD, will say that we're all authoritative individuals. You know, sometimes, and I'm gonna say it as a joke. I'm talking to Dave, and he talk all reckless to me on the phone, and I be wondering who the hell he talking to. I be like, yeah, we about to go get put on the gi and shit. No, but I said that to lighten up the load. But I say all that to say that it does change you. It really does. And sometimes we have to detox ourselves. And a lot of people don't understand that. Our vices, maybe whatever it is, cigars, smoking, cigarettes, cigars, drinking. We all can get together and have a good old time. And a lot of times we need to find out.
Bill,
yes.
That sound is coming from you.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
It is? Well, yeah. I don't know where it's coming from. I mean, I'm not doing anything.
I think it's yours too, Bill. I got to agree with Rich.
You would anyway. At least
I'm telling you, because everybody was good until you start talking.
Well, I'm going to talk tonight, so y'all going to have to get used to this.
Well, Kevin can take over for you. Hey, Kev, mute him.
All right, so you know what? Then I will try not to talk too much. I don't know what it is. Let me see. Hold on.
It sounds like somebody's typing.
Yeah, it sounds like you're typing.
And I'm not. I'm talking. So, I mean,
what kind of mic you using? What kind of mic you using?
The one I've been using every week, Rich.
Bill's been hacked. That table.
It's the Russians.
So, matter of fact, well then maybe you guys are gonna have to start reading some of these questions for them, because I want Lania to chime in, and I'll be quiet. Lania, come in, please.
Like Lisa said, to me the problem is for the young generation right now, there's no after school program. There's nothing for them to do. And the ones that are doing something, they in the house on their PS2, PS3. There's no activities no more for these guys. And they need to bring back programs, help the youth out, because when you have nothing to do and you horse playing, you're going to get in trouble. So it looks like you're hanging out, and you are hanging out, but there's no place to go. So what do you want them to do? They need programs to help these children coming up today. Sorry.
That's all right. I like ESPN too.
Yeah, but
so Lania, let me ask you a question. And Lisa, we found out it was you. Everybody said it was you now, so it's not. It's you, Lisa. So that's why you're muted and nobody's hearing. You know what I'm saying? So we gonna get that
right. That is so not.
Oh yeah, now it's son. She might. There it is
You
again.
know, why you want to blame the woman? I'm the only female here, and now it's me clicking.
Lisa, they said it. I just said it. I mean, don't kill the messenger. Kill the person who.
Oh,
who
so now you're gonna do what they say? Seriously,
No,
Mr.
Hey,
Host?
Lisa, it does sound like it's coming from you, baby.
See?
It really does.
Yeah, it is. It's okay. Yeah,
See, now it stopped.
Yep. Lisa, it's okay.
Stop.
We know your acoustics. We know that your part-time job is a singer, so we know you got acoustics in the back.
Okay, I'm gonna mute myself again. Let's see.
Okay.
She kind of took that well from Dave. He did it with that Barry White voice.
Yeah. That's what
I'm
you
a
do.
team
It
player.
does sound like you.
I don't know what
Yes,
I'm
you are.
doing.
So let me ask you a question, because there's so many comments. I want you all to go back and read them and check them out. Yeah, see, that's you, Lisa. You know it. And I'm going to try to read them as we go along. So I'll start with you, Lania.
Mm-hmm.
How do we fix the problem now? We realize there's a lot of problems, and we'll go back to Rikers and stuff like that, because what I see is so disheartening. And I'm sure you, Shep, Lisa, I know when you look at the things that you see inmates, because if I get the footage, I know you get the footage. Inmates getting sliced. I mean, not inmates, officers getting sliced, jumped. I mean, officers getting, yeah, Lisa, that's you. You know, the officers getting jumped and things of that magnitude. It's disheartening. Just like when I see officers getting water, a bucket, or having somebody in the street talk to them all reckless. It never would have happened on my watch, bro. It would have never happened on my watch. And I'm sure you guys are outnumbered a lot of times. What's the count? 1 to 25, I think it is.
No, I think it was 1 to 50.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was trying to be nice. Yeah, 1 to 50, right? And at any time, if a person has a vendetta against one of you guys, it can be problematic. But how do you think we go about fixing the problem? Reform. You know, do we separate, like Lisa was saying and Dave was saying, do we separate domestic violence people, get one cell block, rapes, violent crimes, get another, mental illness, go straight to, I don't know if that's happening now. I don't know, so that's why I'm saying it. If I'm naive, then I apologize. But how do you think how do we fix the problem? Then I'll go to Shep and Lisa again. Go ahead, please. It's a loaded question, I know. Yeah.
They do that to a certain degree, but you need to talk to the people who are doing the job, see what they need to make it through their 8 hours. How can they help themselves help others? Because if they can't help themselves and they feel that anything they do is not helping them perform their duties, then we back at a lost cause once again. That's why I try to always tell new officers that I meet that's a correction officer, hold your head up high. And if you need help, ask for help. Don't be the one that things do happen on their tour because they feel that you soft. And it isn't, and also it's not about being tough. Like I said, it's about gaining your respect. When you come on your post and you know you have a job to do, that's on you. And you taught, cover your own ass. But when it's you and your partner, you got to have each other's back. And you just have to maintain and just keep communication, because I feel communication is being lost in all levels. And I'm letting the officers know that they can do it and they just got to stick together.
Okay. So let me ask you a question, and I'm asking that this is an open question to Lisa and Dave and yourself, Lania. Like Kevin and I always say, they're not bringing the Kevins and the Bills back. I'm working on that right now as we speak, but they're not bringing the Kevins and the Bills back, because I'm going to say the things that the training officer cannot say because he's afraid that I'm going to get in trouble. What you gonna do? Fire me? I'll go home. I'm retired. All you gonna do is I'm just gonna leave the building. You know what I'm saying? And don't touch me. You know what I'm trying to say? But so, Shep, what do you think? What do you think there's certain things they need to do, brother?
Well, the first thing you have to think about is who's going to care. Right. You got to have somebody that cares about what's going on. Then once they care about what's going on, they got to work out a strategy to make it work for the people that work the jails and the people that live in the jails. Now, I know you mentioned something about mental health and different gangs and all that stuff that are together. Well, let me get to this. If you put a bunch of people in one area that have a mental illness, now you have to think about, is that going to be a safe environment? Is it going to be problematic? How do you deal with that? Right. And they do that from time to time. They'll have what we call it a MO section or mental observation. And you'll have a bunch of inmates, and they have different levels of crime. Some are violent, some are not. But then you have the gang members. Do you put them all together? Then you'll have one that'll lead them into a situation. It's so problematic. Excuse me?
Right. It'll become a bloodbath, problematic. Like I
said. Yeah. So I don't think there's any real solution unless somebody really cares about what happens. Now you got to think about who's in the jails and who cares about who works or lives in the jail.
Okay, so hold that thought, because I got a question. So do you put Mr. John or Jane Q. Public, either or, that caught up in domestic violence? You know, it can happen, and then you put him in with a gang member. You can't, because now he's going to get abused. So that's why I'm just trying to fix. And I understand what you're saying about care. And listen, I don't know. That's why I have you three here.
Yeah. Well, see,
yes.
Well, let me say this. You would think that might work, but you can't put somebody in there that's a nonviolent criminal if he's a slum landlord and he got caught. You can't put him in there with a bunch of criminals, murderers. But then when you do have those people together, you got to put the level of whatever crime that they've done with the same people. Then you still have a situation there because you got, people that rob people, they're very violent because they have to be assaultive and they have to be aggressive. And then you got a bunch of people in there that are like that. So you got to deal with that. I don't think there's no real solution because you have to have somebody that really cares about what's happening. I mean, how many people really care? The ones that sit in the office downtown, he's making decisions. Things are happening, and that trickles down. What are you going to do? You got to solve that. It's tricky. I just think that the fact that we've had this hands-off type thing. Not that I think that everybody needs to have that put hands on. I don't think that with all inmates, because you see, I came from the projects, and my life was kind of crazy. I don't even want to begin to talk about that. So I could have been there. So I understand the way some of these guys are and what they went through, because I've had friends that lived through that kind of life. And I know it was rough dealing with that. So I never abused anybody. And then being a martial artist, if I had to do anything, it was always restraint, not, the killer mode. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Bill.
Absolutely.
So Dave, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
All right. So if you have a situation where a person is not being compliant, right? What do you do? I mean, what does the training say you do? Are there options in what you can do, or is there one thing that you do?
It depends on what they're doing, where they're at, where they got to go. Case in point, if a guy has to go to court, the judge wants him in court. So the first thing you try to do is talk him into going to court. Case in point with me, I was a driver. I worked on a bus. I had to take inmates to court. There was a particular inmate that had a beef with somebody in the jail, one of the officers or whatever. So I knew who this inmate was. Not that we were friends, but I knew him. I was no nonsense. I quietly walked up to him with everybody ready to go in there and do work. I walked up to him and whispered in his ear and said, listen, you know me. You got to go to court. If I have to pull you out of here, I'm not going to play with you. In my deep Barry White voice. And he complied. The captain said to me, what did you say to him? I said, if I tell you, I got to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you do it. You talk to them first. If he got to go to court, he's got to go to court. You got to go in there and take him down. Yeah. Now, you could start out with macing him so you don't have to injure yourself. That would humble his ass really well. You know, you can't see his eye. You know, that's the first thing you would do. Huh?
He's going to court for himself?
Yes. If he has to go to court and the judge wants him there at a certain time, he got to go. No questions asked. You got to go. He can't say he don't want to go to court. Can't do that. You can't do that.
So let's bring Lisa in and get your opinion, Lisa, and say what you got to shout. Shout out to everybody that's watching this Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster, with my special guests, Lisa, Lania, Dave, and my co-hosts, Richard and Kev. This show is sponsored by Melba. It's sponsored by Chocolate. It's sponsored by Soft Illusions. It's sponsored by David. Deadly Arts Survival Magazine. Go ahead, Lisa. We'll mute ourselves so you can have all the static to yourself.
I know y'all have me running around my house like, where can I go? Where can I go? And then I think it's Dave. Just now.
No, we all figured it out. We're gonna let you on it. We're gonna quiet our mics and let you talk and listen. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, so like a lot has been put out this evening. I tend to see corrections as a community, and with that community, within that community, it does require some order. No one wants to live in the abyss of disorder. The classification system, I think it needs a complete overhaul, you know, because I think people who make those decisions, they're aware of the fact that it's not just about violent separations. Okay, that housing has to look at age, it has to look at health, it has to look at other problems, personal issues, you know. So it could be a situation where it starts at a person starts at point A, but after being classified from a security standpoint, from a psychosocial standpoint, it could place them in a far different area, right, than they started at initially. I don't know. It's hard to have these conversations for me sometimes because I'm kind of sitting on the fence. I know the work that I did in corrections. I know what my responsibilities were, but then having the opportunity to work on the other side, to hear and, you know, from what other people think. I definitely think, and what stood out for me is that the rules of the department needs to be changed. They're very antiquated, and it's based on a different civilization altogether, you know, and the department tries to hold people in place and in line based on those old and antiquated rules. Nobody is putting the pressure. When I say nobody, I'm talking about the main people in the community, the corrections, uniformed personnel, the advocacy groups for inmates. Put the pressure on the top, take it to the head, and create a total revamp of that department by way of its directives, its rules and regs, all of the policies, particularly those that haven't changed in decades, that are just no longer applicable, you know. And I was listening to Dave, you know, it brought back a lot of memories when you could say something to an inmate a confined individual. Let me be politically correct here. And they would conform just based on the fact that they know your history, maybe, or they do see you as a threat. And for me, as a woman, they just had respect for women when I was in the department. Um, but that kind of, I mean, the department hired, or they started the requirement of making sure that people were college educated when they came on the job to, I guess, prevent this violent behavior that was being directed toward the inmate population. People, the officers or uniform personnel, were supposed to think before acting. That was the purpose in changing the mindset within the department. But I think that the rules need to be changed so we can find the perfect medium. I guess that's just what I'm trying to say. I do not support the excessive use of violence because I've seen that. When I first came on the job, the department wasn't as colorful as it is now.
Right, right.
And I stood by and I watched working in the intake area, and I'll be direct with it. I saw white men that I had to work with, who had no problem kicking the shit out of an inmate. Okay. And when I look at that person, I don't just see an inmate. I see a brother, I see an uncle, I see a cousin, I see somebody from my community being assaulted, but you had to be quiet. And back then, you can get away with buying steel toe boots, or that slapper thing. I know I had one. I was told to get one very early in my career and put it in a white envelope and keep it in your pocket. Everything was centered around violence and disrespect and those demeaning terms, a skid, all kinds of stuff. I didn't learn that stuff from, people of color, but I think people pick up on the vocabulary, they pick up on the language. I says the most horrific, life-changing thing that I experienced was on a search. And there was a white assistant deputy warden who told us, when you go in there, you're going to take their soda, their chips, everything, open it up, throw it on the floor, and make them lay in it, face down. I didn't want to be a part of that. There's nothing great or honorable or necessary in being a part of that. Again, when I saw those people on the ground, I saw my people on the ground. And that day I walked out. I didn't stay on that search. And I said I had the intellectual capacity to, if I had to write about it, because I was going to get written up from walking off of that out of that housing area, that I was prepared to deal with that. But that was so demeaning. And I think we need to call a spade a spade. You can't keep saying that the inmates are this and they're that and they this and they that. Look at the top. Who's really the controller of the scenario? The people on the front lines are not the real controllers. We're just maintaining. You're just maintaining what you've been told to control.
Right.
I'm sorry, I get emotional because I remember that incident as clear as day. And I think some of that culture, that culture within the system needs to change. And not enough change is taking place in that area.
Rich, I know you want to say something, but I just want to say this. All three of you are phenomenal in what you're saying, and I will invite you all back separately so you can converse and talk about things on your own. Go ahead, Richard.
No, I just wanted to say to Lisa, man, you put that so eloquently, and it made so much sense, because those are a lot of the feelings that I have when it pertains to stuff like that. Like I said, I worked in a group home on 127th Street. It was a special group home that was designed. It was called Hard to Place Children.
Wow.
Now, these were kids that no other group home wanted because they had a violent history. I mean, every kid we had in that facility had a record and was going back and forth to court. We had one kid that was charged with murder in there, but none of the staff in there, we weren't corrections officers. We came in as counselors, and when I was supervising that group home, I used to have house searches. And during those house searches, we would find brass knuckles, knives, guns, shotguns. I mean, we gathered all of this stuff at different times, you know, and we turned that stuff in. And I don't know, at that time, I remember when we turned that stuff in, the police department said that they couldn't attach those weapons to who we took them from because they didn't find them. We found them. I thought it was strange, but they wouldn't put an arrest down on them for it, right? So we didn't practice that anymore. But there were times where I had myself had disarmed the kid that had a 9mm stuck in his waist. He was on the cell phone in the lobby, and when he raised his hand, I saw it in his waist. And I just walked. I said, "Yo, Joe, let's go downstairs." He said, "Hold on, Mr. Williams." I said, Joe, come here, let me talk. He said, "I'm on the phone, Mr. Williams, hold on." So I walked over to him and went to whisper in his ear, just pulled the gun out, you know. And I had to turn that gun in, but again, they didn't charge him with the gun, you know. But I had that relationship with them where there were certain lines that I was not going to cross with them, you know. We can have that conversation like what Dave said. You whisper in his ear and you try to talk him down. I've done that many a times and that works, but sometimes they don't want to hear what you got to say. You know, no matter how big, I'm 6'5", 270, no matter, you know, what you say to some guys, they don't want to hear it, you know. So you got to do what you got to do.
That's where the mental illness falls in. They don't care. They're not afraid.
Yeah,
some of them are not afraid at all of anything.
But there's a reason for that, you know. People don't wind up that way, you know. They're not born and wake up and say, "This is how I want to be," you know. Their life has brought them to that point, and sometimes, in the capacity that you work in, that's not for you to take care of, you know. I believe that there should be things should be compartmentalized. Okay, I'm a person that's going to talk to you, and you know that. And you know I'm not the person that's going to come get you. So you can either deal with me or you can deal with Dave, you know, because that's what Dave does.
So let me ask you a question, Rich, since you bring that up. And I think all of us here have a talent of being able to de-escalate. But that being said, there's certain things, just like you just about to say, if they can't deal with you, they're going to deal with Dave or Lania or Lisa or Kevin or myself. There's certain people just want to deal with everybody else and not listen to you. You understand what I'm saying? Those are the ones that I think need and I say a helping hand, because not everybody, like Lisa said, everybody has reiterated, not everybody needs to be touched. There are people that will conform and follow rules, right? Because in corrections, taking away their toilet paper or their privileges is detrimental to their whole existence in jail at one point right now. Like, what? I can't get to, you know, use my phone or something of that magnitude. Or I mean, like toilet paper or soap. I say all that to say, it goes back to that thing. I don't know who said it. It starts in the home. I don't know if it's Lisa or Kevin or Dave. I don't know. Or Lania said it. It starts in the home. And then once it starts in the home, I think, yeah, Dave, it starts in the home. Then we can deal with the problem. Because now, if we're dealing on a 10-step course, and once they come to us, it may be 5 or 6. And 5 or 6 might be too late. You understand? Not everything is too late, but 5 or 6 where a person is not, he doesn't care what Rich said, he doesn't care what Dave said, Lisa said, Lania, Kevin, or Bill said. And he's going to test us. And sometimes those are the stories that make the paper, unfortunately.
But what you said, Bill, is on point. It starts in the home. But what do you do when the home isn't the safe place, right?
Well, when there
are agencies, and they are supposedly programs in place like ACS, BCW, all of these things that are supposed to check the home situation. I know working with the Department of Ed, you know, when you see a kid come to you in the day and that kid has bruises on them, or that kid is saying something to you that triggers in your head that something is not safe where that kid came from, as a person of the city or the state, you're bound by law to make that phone call to the agency that then checks on that, right? You don't pass judgment on it, but you have a sign that says that something is wrong. Somebody needs to go check on that. So you make the call, and that's what they do. You know, everybody has a job to do, right? So if I'm tasked to be that bully, that's what my job is. You know, if Lisa's there to talk the person down and blah 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 blah, I'm waiting over here for her to do what she got to do. But if she can't succeed with what she's doing, and she says, "Hey, we got to take it to the next level," so I got to call Richard or I got to call David. You know, but then when we come in, there's got to be some kind of oversight and guidelines to what we do, even if it's, you know, trying to put that guy down, right? It can't be just, I'm just going to kick this person's ass and put boots on him just because he didn't listen to Lisa. I'm just going to just quickly cripple this kid.
Okay,
There's got to be some kind of oversight to that.
I'm going to,
like she said, she watched other officers when she was just got into to her job, and she watched that happen, you know.
But she didn't say that. But hold on, Rich. Let me just say this. I don't want to make one scenario or certain scenarios the norm of life. You understand what I'm trying to say? Not every cop is going to go upside somebody's head, and not every correction officer is stomping somebody out. I understand exactly what you're saying.
I hope that's not how I came across.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying that
that's not what my intention was.
No, I didn't think it, but that's why I want to put clarity to it, because the bottom line is when that happens, it gives because like I said, I gave the scenario of 1 to 10, and we got somebody in at 6 or 5. He may need to see a Rich or Dave. He's not trying to listen to a Bill or a Kevin or a Lania, but he may need to see a Lisa. I say all that to say it's a situation at hand, and each situation is different. So we might have to talk about the elephant in the room, and that's why I started off with the family structure, because once you come to us, and not everybody here has already said, not everybody in jail is a bad person. We all agree with that. But now, Mr. Drunken Driver doesn't deserve to get slapped in the mouth. Not every gang member needs to deserve to get slapped in the mouth, because the bottom line is it's 101. I said go left. I said go right and do that. Lisa, I know you want to chime in, and then I just want to read some comments. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. Thank you everybody for chiming in and watching with us. We have so much comments and stuff like that. After Lisa, you make your statement, and then I'm just going to read some comments. Go ahead, sis. Sorry.
I think I want to say that, first of all, that there is a book called Convicted in the Womb. Okay, some people, and not within our society, and unfortunately they end up behind bars, are people who don't have a stable household. Right? I know Richard speaks about this. He's spoken about this throughout the evening, but there is no stable home. No, they don't know what that looks like. It starts from before they're even conceived. When you talk about alcohol and substance abusers who are creating these children and then not providing them with any degree of stabilization, that whole school to prison pipeline, you know, there's so many variables involved as to why, you know, there are the problems that there are within our society and the criminal activity. There's a small number of people, approximately 5 to 6% of all the crime that's committed. It's only committed by a small group of individuals. Okay, our society is having a difficult time trying to work with that particular population. You know, But I think looking back at my career, I can speak for me. I think that it's valuable. It's so valuable to serve as a role model in whatever it is you do, you know, because what you do can have an impact on somebody's life for forever. And like you were saying, you don't know who you're dealing with. People come from all places with a significant degree of problems, and unfortunately, we live in a society that's not prepared to deal with that. I would love to continue this conversation at a later time because there's so much to say, but I'll sign out for now. Thank you.
Okay, Lisa, you're more than welcome to come back. Okay.
Thank you.
Anytime you're more than welcome to come back to Real Talk. Thank you to our person that connected us. She knows I love us. I love her. Lisa, come back. We'll connect, and you'll come back. And I want you all to come back individually. I'm going to continue with the gentleman, but Lisa, thank you. Appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you.
You said you're going to continue with the gentleman?
Yeah, I didn't ask you to leave. I didn't ask you to leave.
Oh, okay. Okay.
You want to stay?
Do that. Sure.
I think what she was saying is she didn't have more to say.
Oh, on that topic. I thought
Not that she was leaving.
No. Lisa, no, stay. Yeah, exactly. I apologize. How about this? I'm gonna show you how messed up I am. My fault. Your mistake.
Typical man. That's a typical man. But
yeah. Hey, listen. I stand up when I go to bathroom. I own it.
I'll be
That's
certain.
Okay. That's all right. We're gonna do all that all day. Exactly. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. You see, we get it in. It's a man, it's a woman thing, it's a corrections, it's an NYPD, but it's all one thing. It's always this. It's all love. So I apologize to Miss Whiteside because I misinterpreted what she was saying. I want to read some of the comments, everybody, and if you want to comment on what I'm reading, rebuttal, just raise your hand. Otherwise, I just want everybody to know that we acknowledge that they're in this room, in this chat, in this podcast, and they're speaking their feelings. So I'm going to just read some stuff. Shout out to Keith Armstrong, my man. He says, I agree. It starts at the home from birth. If you have no stable home, the kids at times will become unstable in society. Cool. We're all good with that. Shout out to Lisa. I'm a survivor. Sadly, sometimes as educators, our hands are tied in what we observe or when our students have bruises or hungry or unkept. I've had administration tell me not to call the state or a parent. You know, I guess that's a whole nother can of worms when we're dealing with this. James Baker, he said the city, state, and federal government are being penny wise and a pound foolish because they refuse to appropriate adequate funding to the programs that work. I'm just going to keep reading all the comments that some of us we've missed. My man 40 Dog, he said COVID life closed all. That down, that no one cares, just want to get paid for that job, no participation. Jane Baker also said, unfortunately, these services aren't adequately funded with the staff needed to have the proper impact and intervention. Lisa, I'm a survivor, also says, I agree, it starts at the home, but what happens when these youth have no home or they are neglected, right, Richard? She agreed with you, Rich. James Baker said, it's true, some only understand the head crack. Yeah, 40 also said abuse, neglect, and single to no parent homes. James Baker also said, he said it's definitely started at the top, and unfortunately, Giuliani set the tone for the law enforcement communities that it was okay to run amok. But we all know that you have to give respect to get respect. Otherwise, you'll be battling every day. Tracy said, I appreciate your honesty, Lisa, when you were conversing about things that you've seen and stuff. Brenda has a good question, and I don't know, maybe I'll ask Lania, Shep, and Lisa. Either one of you can answer, but I'll start with you, Lania. Brenda Mccullough said, Sister Brenda, she said, what are the new jail chief, Louis Molina's plans to improve conditions in the penal system? Do any of you know that? Right. Yeah, I mean, Brenda, they're not active. So they're just I guess they're retired like us. Anybody want to comment on that?
Can you repeat that?
She said, "What are the new jail chief?" I'm assuming she's going to say, "What is the new jail chief, Louis Molina's plans to improve conditions in the penal system?" I'll keep reading.
Only an active officer can tell you that.
Yeah, only an active officer. Exactly.
Can I ask a question?
Okay. I just wanted to keep reading some of the comments. Go ahead. What's the question, Rich? Go ahead.
Okay, when a person is arrested, then sentenced to whatever the time is, right? What is the objective? Is it to punish the person for the act of crime that they committed? And once they're in there, the objective is to then what? Reform him or punish him the whole time he's in there, or her. So if you just think about that for a minute, okay, this person committed a crime. We're taking him out of public. We're going to put him in some place where he's not, in public. So while he's in there or she's in there, what do we do with them? Are we there to make their life a living hell? We're denying them, the freedom. That's prison right there. So, okay, you're here. So what are we doing with you? We're telling you to move from A to B, C to D. And if you don't do that, we put boots on you. I'm just trying to get an idea of the life of an inmate, because I've never been incarcerated.
Let me ask you a question, Rich.
I'm just trying to get the mindset of what the objective is once you do incarcerate a person. What are we trying to do? Because eventually they're going to be released in most cases. So you're going to release someone after their life has taken this big change to where you're caging them like an animal, and then now you're going to release them. So
any one of you want to answer first? Go ahead, please.
Rich.
Yeah.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
If, unfortunately, let's say somebody attacks and robs your best friend, and they severely hurt your friend, and they catch him, and they sentence him, why do you think they're doing that? Why do you think that they're doing that?
No, I know that it's punishment, but in my head, the punishment is taking him out of society,
out of society,
incarcerating him. So
yeah, they're taking him out of.
That's punishment right there, because they can't do nothing without permission, moving back and forth as far as coming into society, right? So society supposedly is safe from this criminal now, right? From them doing it again. So again, to your question and mine, you took him out. So are we going to punish him while he's in there, or are we going to try to get him to see his better ways, as far as that's not the way to act? This is why let's deprogram you from whatever it was that brought you to what you did, right? So what are we going to do to address that mindset this person has? Because if you don't, you're just going to then release him back into the public. And in most cases, he's worse now than when he was when you put him in there.
Now,
because he had to go into survival mode once he got incarcerated. So now he's going to learn stuff he never even learned before out there. He's going to learn it in here.
You're absolutely right about that. But the thing about that is, there's nothing that can be done about that. When they go to jail, they do learn more stuff than they did, because everybody there has a story to tell or something to gain. You can learn something from this guy, right? They can come out a worse person because they end with all this. There's nothing that can be done about that. It's up to the individual to decide if he himself wants to continue that life of crime. Because you have counselors, you have priests, you have schools in upstate, in the state prisons, not in the Rikers Island. Rikers Island is just a holding pen for you to go to court and go back until you're sentenced. Now, with the bail reform, if you don't have enough money to pay for the bail, they let you out now. So when you go upstate, You're going to learn all that stuff whether you want to learn it or not. You have to decide as a grown-ass man or whatever you are to either go left or go right. Nothing can be done about that. It's no different from, there's rules and regs. It's the same rules. You have rules and regs when you're a child. You have to decide whether you're going to do the right thing or you're going to do the wrong thing. And if you do the wrong thing, you're going to get that belt.
Well, can I just add a little statement to that? I think life can be different and there could be a better outcome if the individual wasn't state property. Because we still live in a society, right? If someone is sentenced in the state of New York, I'm going to only speak to, and once they're sentenced, they become state property. So again, this is all in line with a system of slavery. I'll just be direct about it. I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but that's not how we fix people. We don't fix people by giving them a work assignment and having them to do it from sun up to sundown, right?
Cheap labor.
Right, exactly. That's not how we fix people with limited access to education and other programs, particularly if you're going to be away for 5 and 10 years. And just like Richard said, when they come out, because most people are going to come home, they're sent right back to the communities where they left with minimal opportunities and skills that they acquired from state prisons that are not something that they can use in an advanced world. It just doesn't add up. So they're coming home ill-prepared to engage in society in a pro-social way, to be able to help their kids and pay child support. And it's just a big mess.
Lisa, it goes back to what I said in the beginning. Somebody has to care. Somebody has to care.
Right.
So
and a lot of times they don't.
Let me ask all three of you, and either one can take the lead, and the other two can follow up. Who is it that you want to fix? Do you want to fix the serial killer? Do you want to fix the person that punched the old lady in the mouth? Do you want to fix the person that committed a crime, defending his family, who he's incarcerated because he committed a crime, but he did it with reason? And when I say this, I'm not trying to be funny. I'm really not. But are you trying to fix the man that kicked the old lady down the steps? Are you trying to fix the boy that was selling drugs? Like, who are you trying to fix, and who do you want to fix? Or is this a fixture for everybody to try? And I'll go. Either one of you can go first, please. Lisa,
I would like to fix everyone. I would love to fix everyone.
Okay.
I agree with Lisa.
The guy who kicked the woman down the stairs, obviously something is going on in his mind, right? That is troubled, right? There's something going on there that would even promote his thinking to that level, to want to kick somebody or beating a woman with a hammer, right? That's not normal thinking. We know that that's not normal thinking, right? So we can't ignore the fact that that person needs assistance, right? They need some serious mental health treatment. How long have they been that way? How many years has he been on the street? So I think that as a society, a responsible society, we need to be more proactive in that way in fixing all of them, all of the examples that you presented.
Okay.
Mental illness is real, man. I mean, when we think of mental illness, we're thinking about it in a mindset that we're not crazy, so a lot of times we can't relate to craziness, but we all got a little of that, I see a therapist for things I need to talk about, because if you leave things bottled up, it's going to come out. It could come out physically, because that's happened to me, when my father died, I was going through a lot of stuff, and I had this pain in the side because his body was in the morgue and we couldn't get it out, because he had decomposed where you couldn't identify his body. And it was during a heat wave in the summer of 2002. And I was going through a lot of stuff because me and my father had just gotten back to a space where we were good. because most of my life, me and my father were at each other's throats, you know. And I was at a point in my life where me and him were good. And he had been missing. Nobody could find him. When he finally found him, he was decomposed. So I went through a thing in my head of mental problems dealing with that. Because the day I saw him last, he said he had to talk to me. And I said, hold on, I'm playing a game of chess. As soon as I finish, he said, all right, call me later. And that was the last time I saw him. So I don't even know what he wanted to talk about. So I was dealing with that in my head. And it came out in a physical way where I had this pain in my side. The whole time he was in the morgue, I needed to get him out and I couldn't because I didn't have no way to get him out. I didn't have no dental records. I didn't have nothing that could identify him. But lucky for me, I remembered that he had been shot twice and one of the bullets was still in his back. Right? And that's how we got him out. But that whole time, I had this pain in my side like somebody stuck a knife in me. And after we put him to rest and all of that, it went away. That pain went away.
Got you. Lania?
You know, and I'm saying that to say we go through things that comes out some kind of way. Unfortunately, for some, it comes out in a violent way, you know? And we don't know, we really don't know. I mean, we sit around and we judge people for what they've done. I mean, like it says in the Bible, he without sin throw the first stone, you know? And we have a tendency to measure each other's sin. Like, well, my sin ain't bad as yours. And, you know, how do you do that? You know? Sure, there's some atrocities, like you said, the serial killers and all of that. Yeah, but I don't think anybody was born that. I could be wrong. I don't think you're born like that.
Well, I know I will ask the doctor, and that now you led me to segue the shows. Every first Monday of every month, we have Assemblyman Al Taylor. The second Monday of the month, we have Dr. Marilyn Corder. I think I will try to ask her about mental illness coming up this Monday. The third Monday of the month, we have Allison Williams, the First Lady of Def Jam. She will be back to talk about her experience with walking in the middle of life, you know, being in a coma. The fourth Monday of the month, we have Pastor Kevin Graves. He will be back. And every Wednesday, we have Rich, Chuck, and Kevin. We have Kevin, Chuck, and Rich. And we converse about issues and topics like that. Today, we're having conversations with 3 retired correctional officers, Lisa Whiteside, Lania Rogers, and David Shepard. And they're giving us their personal feelings and take on what has happened with the correction department. How can it be fixed? How can we change? How did it change in the beginning? What caused the change? And how do we make the correctional department a better place? With that being said, also shout out to everybody that's watching. If you're watching YouTube, subscribe and like to it, please. You get all the Real Talk Chronicles content. If you're watching from Facebook, whomever you're watching from, please share it. I ask you so more people can hear these dynamic panelists converse about their professional experience, because I deem you all professionals in your expertise in your field, because you did it and walked it. So and I respect you and I appreciate you all, and I have a personal relationship with 2 of you. And Lisa, we will grow to come to be better acquaintances and friends. I say all that to say we understand problems. We know there needs to be solutions. I don't want to sound cold and heartless, but there are certain things. I'm not going to blame everything on mental illness. I just think there are certain people that are just criminals, and they just do bad shit. And I'm not going to treat a bad ass like he needs a thermometer or a pacifier. I'm not going to do that. That's my personal feeling. And you know, if you're going back to the kid that was drawn on the wall, I hate people at 6 years old. Yeah, I get that. We missed the ball. We dropped the ball on that. But I don't give the pass to the person that chose a life of crime and he wanted to hurt people. You know what I'm saying? Certain people, to me, it's just my personal, because you can't. Nobody here can hold on. Nobody here can tell me if you beat my mother in the head with a hammer, I want to try to rehabilitate that person. I'm not going for it. And I don't think any one of you would do. You would accept that kind of conversation. So I get the conversation of saving those that need to be saved, and I think we all know the difference. Let's not play games right here, and this is real talk. Let's not play games that everybody needs the flower.
If you hit my mother in the head with a hammer, I'm gonna kill your ass. Right?
And that's my point.
Now, hold on. Now I'm crazy.
And we never said everyone. We never said everyone has a mental health problem.
The guy that assaults your mother, your grandmother with a hammer, we should still try to rehabilitate.
Yeah, all right.
You should.
I got it.
But that's no longer my job, right? That's why we have fail safes for other people to do that. Because now I can't think clearly because I fall into the category of crazy. So I'm no longer saying now. So somebody else that does that has to do it for me. Because
Rich, let me just tell you the law. If I do it as soon as it happens, I may claim insanity. If it goes days later and I do it, it's premeditated.
Remember the guy, because this happened on television.
No, I do it. I'm just giving you facts.
I got you.
Okay,
I got you.
Go ahead.
Remember the guy whose son got raped by his martial arts instructor, right?
Yep.
They had him in court. They tried him. They convicted him. He was
side.
walking out. The father was at a phone booth with a baseball hat on like Dave, acting like he was on the phone, and he did a Lee Harvey Oswald to him. He came out and you pulled the gun out, pop, pop, threw the gun on the ground, put his hands up.
Yep. Right.
He was crazy. He went insane for what happened to his son.
He wasn't insane. It was premeditated. He thought about it. He decided to do it, and he implemented the procedure. See, don't give a pass.
Crazy don't just last for a minute, bro.
How do you know that?
Because I've been crazy. Luckily, I got counseling.
Hold on. I don't want to put my crazy versus your crazy because you be sitting here divulging too much shit.
Hey, I'm keeping it 100 with you.
Hold on.
Let's keep it 100 with you. I've been in situations where I mentally crossed that line, and lucky for me, it didn't happen. I got the counseling I needed to get, and I was good.
I'm going to bring Dave and Lania and Lisa back in, but let me ask you a question. Did you ever see that movie, It's a Time to Kill, with Samuel L. Jackson, and they raped his daughter?
Yeah.
He wasn't crazy. And I still, like they said, I still would have let him.
And he wasn't a criminal either, though.
And he sure wasn't. He sure wasn't. And I didn't say he deserved to go to jail. You ain't hear that come out my mouth. So,
but when you reach that point, you don't care if you're going to jail.
Yeah, but we're saying, you see what pushed him. This is what I'm trying to say. We're talking,
you never know what pushes an individual to do what they do.
Rich,
what your trigger is different than what someone else's trigger is.
But Rich, what I'm trying to say is that, and like I said, I don't want to make this conversation about who deserves to be in jail and not deserving to be in jail, because the bottom line is, I think we all agree jail is deserving for some, right? I mean,
yes.
Okay. So
yes.
let's start.
What do we do with them?
Yeah, let's start like chopping down this tree. Now, the thing is, how they get there is their own accord, long as it's not falsely accused or police have done them wrong and stuff like that.
I agree.
Now, if we're talking about mental illness, that's a whole nother conversation and a whole nother topic, because I don't think it's going to be solved in the next 18 minutes or 12 minutes that we have. You know what I'm saying? 18 minutes. We can't solve that. And I don't know if Lisa, Lania, or Dave can do that. They can give us their expertise of how they've seen mental people handled in when they're incarcerated. I'd love to hear that. But the thing is,
you're losing me on is, I don't understand what you mean. I mean, somebody does something, they're in jail, right? So my thing is, okay, what do we do with them? We are okay. It's a given. You did what you did. and all of that. So if you get incarcerated, you get treated different based on what you did to get in there.
I don't know.
Everybody gets the same treatment. How does that work?
You can't say that because there are people that are in solitary confinement. There are people, and there's some people. We can ask them: do they believe in solitary confinement? There are people that's in a protective. What is it? Not protective custody. What is the thing when protective custody? Yeah,
protective custody.
Police officers. I mean, there was a time when people that I think, transgenders or gay people or something. Correct me if I'm wrong. I don't want to misspeak. They had special, facilities. Am I right or wrong? Right?
Yes, and they have to ask to be put in that area. They can't just put them in there.
Right. So I'm saying
they ask them if they want to be in that special area. They can't just throw them in there because they look a certain way or they act a certain way.
Yeah, but definitely police officers that have committed perjury and things and get arrested, they don't put them in general pop. They don't do that. So I mean, his dumb he or she. Why not? Because they'll get killed.
Also, don't they have to ask to be taken out, or they just put them out?
No.
Here's a correction of Lania.
Why not?
You don't put a cop or a corrector in general population.
Mm-hmm. He's no longer a cop.
That's true.
Of a criminal.
Security risk to put a police officer in general population.
But you keep calling him something he's no longer is.
But he was identified as such, and he's known to his community as such. So it's not just about him being an ordinary guy now, because I'm so sorry. It's not about him just being an ordinary guy.
If somebody
committed a crime as a police officer,
Rich.
If somebody kills a cop, right?
Okay.
Is there a special place for him?
He's usually in segregated housing also. He's in protective housing.
So he's
because
what?
I know when I was working, it was considered a case of notoriety. So you don't want to put that person into general population.
We call them CMC.
This might sound like a stupid question because, I listened to what you said. When the cop gets incarcerated, he gets put someplace because other inmates know he's a cop and they might retaliate on him because he's a cop, right?
And
somebody that killed a cop that's in a space with cops that are watching him. So how is he protected from the same thing that the cop is protected from? I'm looking for.
Rich, you changing the system every question, bro.
No, I'm just trying to figure out where where's the equality in this. But I understand protecting that officer. But where's the protection for the other guy?
Hey, Rich, it's like this. When you have a person.
Hold on, Lisa. Hold on. Go ahead, Shep, and then come in, Lisa.
Hey, Rich, when you have a person that is in jail for, let's say, slumlord, that's a civil case. You don't put them in with criminals. When you have a person who has a mental illness, you put them in with other mentally ill inmates. When you have a person that commits a violent crime, you put them in. It's the same as that. You don't put a cop or a CO in the same dorm or cell area with violent criminals because number one, he's gonna have a serious problem when they find out that he's a cop.
Wait a minute.
And if you were a cop, if you were a cop, you wouldn't want to go in there.
The cop that violently killed George Floyd and the cops that violently killed some of those people that got convicted, they're violent. But they're not going to go. They're not going to go in there with the regular criminals. That's just the way it is. No,
they're not going to do that.
What you just said.
What?
I'm just talking about what you just said because you made it seem like cops.
Well, because of his background, because of his background of what he was doing, because he was working with criminals, against criminals, they're not going to put him in the same housing area as regular criminals because he's not going to last long, and they know that.
Committed a crime. Remember the guy that got arrested
you're right about that, but he's still incarcerated.
Remember John
Rich.
Cuff?
Care, custody, and control, gentlemen.
But my
Rich, he's
point
still
is,
in
this
jail.
guy was a serial
Care,
killer.
custody,
All right, hold on.
control.
Let me get order back because everybody's trying to outtalk each other.
God.
I'm going to close. Rich,
I need to
you
be on
giving
my
us.
laptop.
It's like we say 1, you say 2, we say 3, you say 4. Like you, like
No,
I don't know.
what you're talking about.
No, but
Because
I don't know what.
saying,
Hold on, I don't know what the
I'm
answer.
gonna listen for a little while so I can learn.
No, but I don't know what the answer you want them to say because the bottom line is, I'll let go ahead, Dave. I'll let you finish, Lania and Lisa, and then I'll just want to read some comments because I don't know the answers that she's looking for. I don't know if I have them. Go ahead.
This is what I do know, and there's no, I kind of know what Rich is trying to get at. But if Rich was a cop and he committed a crime, he definitely does not want to be in the jail with people he could have arrested. That could be the problem. And they know perfectly well. They put him in jail and they find out he's a cop. He's not going to last long. So like Lisa said, care, custody, and control. So when you have a cop, you have to take custody of that guy and control where he's going. And you don't want anybody assaulting that guy because we're responsible for your life when you come to jail. We can't put you in a situation where we know that they're going to kill your butt, but you're still incarcerated. You committed a crime. We don't have to put you in the same area with the other criminals, but you're going to be there regardless. So I hope that answers your question.
But I don't disagree with that.
But so I'm not sure what you're getting at, though.
Yeah, because you
when
take
it comes
us around
to
the world, and Rich.
No, I
Hey,
agree
Rich.
with that.
Hey, Rich. Did you say you were going to sit back and listen?
Listen, I agree with that. All I asked you was
Hey, he lasted 35 seconds. Give him a break.
On the reverse side of that kills a cop and
Hey,
nothing but cops.
Hey, Bill, where you get this guy from?
Hey, listen, I'm the guy that don't make it easy for you.
That's not. Listen, you know something? I've had guys like you in jail, so I got you.
You ain't have me in there.
I said like you.
Hey, there was somebody that like you too. They just
want to listen.
Wasn't you.
Don't want to listen. Don't want to listen.
They was in there just like you, but they wasn't you.
Like Kevin said, you lasted 35 seconds and then you went to kaput. You know what I'm saying?
Hey, Lisa, help me out here.
Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles.
Put Richard in
Hey, Bill,
for a minute.
put Rich on mute, man. God damn.
Military for Rich.
Rich, you just listen for the next 12, 13 minutes. You be quiet over there. Raise your hand and shit.
Yo, listen. I got a public announcement.
What's up?
A shameless plug for my show.
Oh, okay. Wait, hold on. I'll let you do that at the end. All right, you got it. I got you. I just want to read some of the comments and stuff, and we'll get back to something. No, but we got you, Dave.
That was a shameless plug.
No, definitely. It's not even shameless because I was going to definitely let you mention that. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in and is watching Real Talk Chronicles. I'm your host, Bill Forster. I'm with my co-host, Kevin Branzetti, and Richard Don't Listen Williams. Let me say something. I got my special. I know he was hard-headed when he was a kid. I know, right? Whatever the grade was, they said like, Richard does not listen. He likes to talk and battle you all the damn time. Period. You know what I'm saying? I love you, brother, but it's all fun and games. But real talk. No, I got my special guest tonight. I have the lovely Lisa Whiteside, Lania Rogers, and Dave Shepard, our boulders in the building. I'm just going to read some comments, and then we're going to try to come back to some solution. Rich is going to. Everybody, Rich, everybody getting at you, bro. Everybody saying Richard don't listen. We got it from YouTube. We got it from Facebook Live. Listen. You like Linda? Listen. Listen, Richard, listen. You gotta listen. You know.
Yeah, Rich gonna go hide in the corner now.
Bring your ass back.
Bring that ass back, Rich. We know you still looking.
I'm here.
Yeah, we're gonna put you.
You go hide in the corner now.
And shit. You know what I'm saying? read some comments. Stefania said, to Richard's point, where's someone like R. Kelly locked up? I don't know right now, but I bet you he got a lot of songs he's written since he's been in jail. Alyssa, well, we'll let them answer that. Can anybody just say where would somebody like R. Kelly be locked up at, real quick, for Stefania's sake?
That's federal pen.
Yeah. So I guess I got to get some state correction office or some feds on Stefania because they wouldn't know. But I think she's equating like, would he be in protective custody or would he be in general pop? Yeah.
Protective custody.
He'd be in protective custody. You like touching little girls, it would touch you. I got it. That's what they're saying. No disrespect, R. I didn't know you. My bad. Elizabeth said, you choose to be a PO. You chose to act in a criminal manner. We've proven without a doubt all the evidence proves you are 100% guilty. Therefore, you should be treated accordingly. However, after listening to the platform, that's not the case. Exactly. My man, big brother Kevin McElroy said, where did they put Larry Davis? He was assaulted by police in the joint. We all know that was, it is what it is. I don't know if these officers were working at the time.
I was.
You want to take?
In fact, we had him in the Bronx house.
You had him in the Bronx house. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Brenda said, leave my baby alone. Brenda, come get your baby. You know what I'm saying? Cedric said, it's a double standard. I understand what Richard is trying to say. Well, you would, Cedric. You damn near half crazy anyway. I love you anyway, brother. Janice said, Dave is telling you the truth. Stefania said, I think what Richard's saying is all criminals shouldn't be treated the same. All right, Stefania, you one more statement like that, I'm gonna put you in the corner. You know what I'm saying? And Janet J-Lo, she was like, Richard's not listening. We know. I'll repeat it. Let me just read back some of the real juicy comments I was playing now. Keith said there are rules inside the prison walls. There are rules inside the police precincts, and there are rules in the streets. This is just how it is. Absolutely, Keith Armstrong. Elizabeth says, so as a PO goes to jail, isn't the PO now considered? Oh, you asked that question. I'm reading backwards, everybody. I apologize. I just, like Janice said, court order for protection custody. I see you, Lisa Ray, Angel Ray. Let me just read some of the other comments. Elizabeth said, I agree with Richard wholeheartedly. Therapy is a positive. Everyone at one point or another in their lives has had a traumatic experience. Yeah, I think we all have. When we start talking about trauma, death is one thing. You don't take that lightly, and natural causes of death can still be traumatic to anybody. Let's not play with death. I think both of my parents are not here, and I still think of them every day, right? And I even know I took care of my mother for 5 years when she was terminally ill. And I understand when she passed away, I needed therapy. And that's how Real Talk Chronicles came to fruition. So let's not mistake anything in lieu of that. This is why Real Talk is here right now. The evolution of Real Talk is about real conversation. And I needed to have therapy to talk about what I was going through. It started in my house. I say all that to say, some get therapy, some don't. Some are stronger than others and some are not. But you have to admit what you're going through. Rich just divulged what he was going through when his father transitioned. And he said he knew he was teetling toddler. We get that. I think we all don't care about certain things. I got some stories where after my mother passed away, I'll be like, yeah, okay, I can see he's a little crazy, but damn. You understand what I'm saying? But thank God things worked out. With that being said, not everybody crazy is said it crazy. I tell you a story, and I'm gonna go to it and keep on reading some of these comments. A friend of mine used to say about his nephew. He was like, or his cousin. He was like, yeah, he walking around the street talking to himself and all that shit. And I've seen it for some other people I know. But when it's time to get that disability check or whatever that check is, he clean and casket sharp to get that check. And then after he spend that money, he back out here talking to himself. So he knows when to be crazy. Some people pick their poison. Not everybody in the system deserves to be in the system all the way around. I'm saying that lightheartedly, but some people can work this system. You understand what I'm saying? I personally, and I took psychology, do we Sigmund Freud every violent crime and say, what's the mental problem? Or is it just that, you're just a problem? We'll think about that. Let that marinate. Angel Ray said, that's understandable. Very emotional. Managing your mental health must be addressed daily, one day at a time. I'm just trying to read all the comments. Shout out to everybody that's chiming in. I want you to acknowledge that I see you. I'm just trying to read you. I hope the panel goes back and reads some of these comments and questions, because I can't get back to all of them. Shout out to my man, Drew Roberts. He said, removing the person from society is protecting society. It is up to the individual to take advantage of what is offered. What do y'all think about that, Lisa? You're muted, sis.
You're muted. Hey, Bill, I got to cut out in about a minute.
Okay. All right, Kevin. Wait, before, I don't want Lisa to get mad at me. Are you leaving?
Oh, I'm leaving.
Really leaving? I don't want to.
I got to jump on a call coming in. I got to go.
Okay. If you do, just wave goodbye. Everybody, Kevin, give us a positive affirmation before you get out, and I'll finish out. I got 5 minutes to finish out.
One quick thing on this whole subject. And this is the rule we should live by. Any kid in jail is our failure. So then we need to study it and fix it. Right? So we talk about family, their school, they need role models, they need discipline, they need mental health, and they need love. And if we're not going to provide that to them at a young age, then we're going to keep this cycle going. Every kid in prison is our failure.
That's what I'm talking about.
All right. Have a good night, everyone.
All right, Kev. We'll see you later. I'll talk to you later, Kev. All right. Yeah. Kev, I'm going to hug you later when I'm call you. Hug and shit. Let me say, no. Listen, as we get to the witching hour, everybody, we get lighthearted and comical. My man Norman Davis.
I got my Oz hat on. This is my Alabisi look.
You're trying to get your Alabisi on. Alabisi look. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Did Alabisi,
I was thinking that same thing.
And listen, allow me to shed some foreskin on the issue here. You see,
did Alabisi take advantage of his situation? Was he mentally ill?
Yes, he was.
Yes, he was.
He was crazy. He was crazy within a crazy system.
Yeah, man.
I met him in Harlem.
Yeah.
I met him in Harlem.
Listen, everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. I've had a wonderful panel. I will ask you all to come back individually, because you have so much to give, so much to teach. And I think you need your own show. It was just I was so happy to get all of you on at one time, because I had been meaning to do a show about correction officers. You needed to be understood and needed to be heard. And I think you're like some people try to treat you like the stepchild, but y'all turn out to be like the water boy. Y'all just start whipping everybody's ass and let people know y'all in the building. You know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, corrections don't play, y'all. They the bonus. Respect to the corrections family. Like I said, if it wasn't for a test, investigator calling me on a Tuesday or a Monday, I would have been a correction officer. So that's just the way the fate went. And with that being said, Lisa, I'll let you start first. Give us some positive affirmation going forward. Anything you want to say, sister, the floor is yours. Then Shep, and then Lania, and then Rich, you. And Rich, don't take all day, because we're trying to go home. I had it with you tonight. Go ahead, Lisa, please.
Okay, I'm short. My mom always told me, or she tells me, if you don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything. And that's the affirmation I would like to leave. If they're listening, if there are any active correction officers that are in the listening audience, I would hope that they could have gotten something from us tonight. that if they need to talk, I mean, because I don't know how the communication is with you and the audience. There have been times on Facebook, if I posted something, someone that's active would inbox me.
Right.
Because they want to talk. You know, they have something to say. They just want to be heard because they can tell by your post that you're interested. You know, I'm genuinely interested in what it is they have to say. So I hope that we can leave tonight with giving some of the officers that are active, we can give them a voice. Since we're retired, our experiences are not probably, but they are older and they are limited. But hopefully we can be that voice or be that rod for change.
Well, Lisa, please send me a friend request so you can see all these things that people have commented. And I want you, Lania and David, to go back and converse with these people because these people have said some phenomenal things. And you can enhance this and share it to your page because this is on YouTube. This is for all of you now. This is your product to tell people that you speak up. Because I ask people, if Kevin was here, he could contest to this. And Richard has heard me say this. I ask people all the time, come out and speak, say your thing. It takes a brave man and woman to come out and just talk about certain things, a part of the system that we have been a part of for so long. You know, we don't mind wearing the badge with the accolades, and we understand why some things are problematic. But I think everybody here is about change. And that's what Real Talk is about, just conversing about the change. Thank you, Lisa. I appreciate that. Lania.
Yes, I want to say thank you for the opportunity tonight and for the officers that are still active. Stay positive and seek help if you need help. And remember that you're the front line and you're the one that can make changes. Your union, they have to help you, and your supervisor have to supervise. If it's something that you don't know, you have to ask, because anything going wrong, you know they're going to make you the scapegoat and take your job.
Real talk. Shep?
Well, since everybody's talking about the active officers, all I have to say is get out while you can. No, I'm No, I'm only kidding. To all of the active officers out there, read, be knowledgeable of what you're supposed to do, learn everything that the captain knows, what the dep knows, and they can never catch you out of pocket. Right. Know what you're supposed to do, know what you're not supposed to do, and if you feel that there's an issue, go to the person that you need to deal with that issue with. But read everything that you can read, know your post, know what you're supposed to do, and I would say advance, captain, dep, warden, then you don't have to take the crap from anybody else. That's about it. And everything that Lisa, my buddy, said, and everything that Roger said, whatever he said.
Shep, you got an event coming up. Tell us about
yeah. Shameless plug. I've been a promoter. You know you can't see that, but I've been a promoter for 40-something years. I'm giving my last blue and white party at the Alhambra in Harlem, July 30th. July 28th, I will be 70 years old. I have Talent, the comedian, performing, Jeff Red performing, Will Trax performing, and quite a few surprise guests. That's July 30th at the Alhambra. It's a blue and white Leo affair. If you're Leo, even if you're not, come on down and hang with us. I'm not going to say the price. It's very reasonable. Check out my page, DMS Live.
Yep, and I think he shared it on my page. And so check out my man, Dave Shep. I'll be in the building hanging out with him. Rich, give us some positive love and affirmation, brother, please. Richard Alabisi Williams.
Listen, I just want to thank you, brothers, and sisters, for your service. Just like Shep said, find out what the rules are, educate yourself, do all of those things, but most of all, be fair.
Right.
Okay, be fair. Regardless of what somebody else is doing, be fair.
Everybody,
damn, Rich, that was good, man. Damn, Rich, that was damn good.
Yo, Dave, let me get off before you say some other shit.
Let's go to the green room. Let's go to the green room. I got some shit for that.
I know.
I'm just waiting for the green room, bro.
Yo, man, look, I'm checking out, man. Later for you, man. I'm out of here.
When we go off the line, everybody just hang around in the green room for a few minutes, please. Everybody, this is Real Talk Chronicles. On behalf of the sponsorship, Soft Illusions Art Gallery, Deadly Arts Magazine, Melba Wilson, Melba Soul Food, Chocolat, Harlem Underground, Leon Ellis. I am Bill Foster. I thank Lisa Whiteside. I thank Lania Rogers. I thank Dave Shepard. I thank my brother Richard Williams. I thank Kevin Branzetti, Chuck Richards. I don't know where the hell you at. You was somewhere partying where you ain't supposed to be. Anyway, I am Bill Foster, Real Talk Chronicles. If you watch it on YouTube, subscribe to it. If you watch it on Facebook, share it. It's the podcast. Keeps it real 24/7 from start to finish. Good night, everybody.